Good day, Soapboxers. This is the Up on the Soapbox podcast. We are doing episode 16. We're coming at you not very live. In fact, by the time we air this, it might be a week or so away from the time we're recording this. Nonetheless, it's going to be new to you, so it really doesn't matter. I'm your host, Brett. With me today is my other host, Dan. Say hello, Dan.
Hey, everybody. And by the way, it is live now.
Yeah.
You know, if that makes a difference. Okay, fine.
Semantics. What are you going to do? We have a great guest with us today, another Soapbox founding supplier. We couldn't be any more thrilled that she is joining us. With us today, we have Devin Martin from Crystal D. Fantastic line out of Minnesota. She is the national and key accounts manager. What's going on with you, Devin?
Nothing, just here in my home away from home at the Crystal D showroom. I came back to the supplier side with the intention of getting out to meet my customers again, and been here for the last 18 months. So
it looks like you're performing pretty well on the job based on all the awards I see behind you. So great job.
My name is on each one of them.
Devin, why don't you kick this off and get it started? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Crystal D, your path, anything. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
All right. Well, that's a dangerous proposition, but I'm a mom to a 16-year-old boy who is learning how to drive right now. He's supposed to take his test next month, so we'll see if I either get diagnosed with high blood pressure or an ulcer by then. And then got a tiny little puppy named Louie, my little Maltese. He's an ankle biter, but I love him. And I've been at Crystal D just a little over a year. I started at the height of the pandemic on March 24th last year. So I was on the distributor side for about 2 years, and I missed my customers terribly. So I decided to come back and started right when COVID kicked off. So I didn't even get to meet any of my coworkers until about 8 months into my career here. So it's been an interesting year. We're hoping to get out and start seeing people again, but we're really grateful for a platform like Soapbox, which, merges the best of the best, where you still get to have the one-on-one conversation with people. And it almost feels like we're live. It almost feels like we're in person. So we appreciate being part of that. It's worked out really well for us here at Crystal D. My history. I fell into this industry by accident, which I think most people do. I was working as a mortgage broker, and I didn't care much for it. I mean, I liked the money at 20 years old, but I didn't like the numbers part of it. I liked the sales aspect of it. So I was thinking about going back to college, and I was thinking about going into graphic design or advertising. And I wanted to work for an advertising agency. I think I had like Melrose Place or something in my mind. And Minneapolis was a hotbed for a lot of advertising agencies. So I went through an employment agency and asked them to find me a job at an advertising agency, because I wanted to just, be a receptionist, try it out, see if I wanted to pursue that kind of career, go back to school for it. And when they put it into the system, it just came up, advertising specialties came up. So I went on like a blind interview to this place called Awardcraft, and it was a customer service job. And I was like, all right, great. Yeah, I can do this. And I had been unemployed for about 2 weeks at that time. And I just bought a car, and I just bought furniture for my first big girl apartment. And I thought, I really need to get some money coming in here. So I went ahead and went through the interview and was like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I can answer phones. I can, deal with customers, whatever you want me to do. And the second interview, they brought me into the showroom, which was, a similar setup to this. And I remember sitting there going, man, these guys have won a ton of awards. They must have a hell of a baseball team, softball team at this place. And Jeff Adams, God rest his soul, was interviewing me. And he slyly slid a catalog across the table and said, honey, we make the awards. That's what we do here. And I was like, oh, great. Okay, so I'll start on Monday. And I don't know. I fell in love with the industry. And then a couple years into my career, Fran Ford came on board to Awardcraft, and he looked at Rena Wells Ashfeld and myself and was like, hey, you want to learn how to do this business? Come on the road with me. And so I was very fortunate. I got to learn from the best of the best to start my career. And I haven't stopped since. I've kind of have an issue with awards. Like, I just keep on coming back to it, but I've worked on both sides of the industry and been in since 1999. I know I had to use a fake ID at my first college or my first happy hour. So it's been a while.
Well, listen, thanks for bringing up Fran Ford. I mean, what an icon, what a great man he was. Tell me a story or two, the ones you can tell here in public. I mean, tell us a story or two about Fran that sticks with you.
Oh gosh, there's so many. I think, probably my very favorite was the last time I got to see him. Rena and I were in Phoenix for an EME event, and we went early, stayed for the weekend and everything. And he and Teresa invited us out to their house. And at this point, like, we had finally realized, like, we thought, like everybody thought, that we were Fran's like shining stars, like his favorites. And to find out later on that everybody felt that way about Fran, that everybody called him and was like he was like this dad to us. Like when we would get a new job, I would make 2 calls. I would call Jeff Adams to see if it was a good move, and then I would call Fran to see if he was proud of me. And he always took those calls. He was always such a generous mentor. But in the last couple months there, it was like, well, everybody felt that way about Fran. He made everybody feel that way. So I think it was just like, he was so kind. He opened up something very personal and a struggle that he was going through that we had no idea of when we were traveling with him. And he was just always like this larger than life. And it was humbling to find out that he actually was a human being under that, because we thought he was just this unbreakable force. And we had a very tender moment. It was tearful, of course. And I'm so glad that we got to see him that last time, because he absolutely changed the trajectory of my life, I know. And especially, my good friend Rena changed her life too. And I wonder if he hadn't come into the picture, if I would have stayed in this career, or, if he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And I'm forever grateful for that. Yeah. But we had a lot of fun times. We had a lot of laughs. I don't remember all of them very clearly, but that goes with the business.
Yeah, he's a heck of a guy, and you're right when you say that. You're surprised. You feel such this closeness to the guy, and then all of a sudden you realize, my gosh, the whole industry feels that way about this man. He's just an incredible guy. What do you the supplier side, distributor side, back to the supplier side? What are the, compare and contrast? What are the big differences that you see in terms of how you have to deal with customer service, the customers? Is it, talk about the differences that you see.
I didn't really believe that there was going to be a big difference. I was recruited by one of my customers, and I had worked with them for years, loved working with them. It was a great experience to be on the distributor side. And I think what I'm most thankful for is that it was really a struggle. And I thought, salespeople are salespeople. You shake hands, you kiss babies, you show them product, you come in with the best pricing or the best, relationship, and you're good to go. But it's so much more than that. And the difference between every supplier, if you're quoting the same item, you're getting, quotes on the same thing, but every supplier does it differently. And to me, the biggest takeaway was you have to make it easy for the distributor, because everybody prices everything different. Some people have setup, some people, and I had a contracted margin. I had a big house account was what I managed, and I had a contracted margin, and I would blow my margin sometimes because I'd forget one of those, those gotcha fees, and it hurt. And I think the biggest surprise for me was if you didn't have an extra, like an overrun of a t-shirt, and they shipped your order short, it was going to cost you about $200 to print a single t-shirt. So right. That was the biggest takeaway for me, that I thought, well, why? I mean, they misprinted one. Why is that my fault? We should be able to, they should do another one, right? And yeah, it was an expensive lesson for me, but I think, just understanding the unique pain points of being on the distributor side has helped me become a much stronger supplier. So I want to, make sure that we keep things as simple as possible. And time is money for distributors. So if I can save them time by offering a creative solution, or, helping them seal the deal, close an order, then, that's more money in their pocket. So it's a good thing.
So what would make something more simple for a distributor? Is it just, being uber communicative? Is it about having the best website in the world? Is it about having incredibly well-trained customer service people, or all of the above?
I think all of the above. I mean, the website is huge, but also, if you're a distributor on the go, like if your website doesn't work well on a cell phone, it's not really helpful to a distributor that's, trying to do something on the fly. I think, the biggest thing that I can show my customers that I can do to make their life easier is if they just trust me. Like, I can give them ideas that they maybe wouldn't have presented. And a lot of times what I find is, we present what the customer asks us for, but we always throw in a couple of extra ideas, and those are usually the ones that close. So, trust your supplier partners. understand that, we're intuitive. We know what people buy. We know what they like, and we can make you look good. So, you can do a basic piece, but if you let us add some color to it, a little bit of pizzazz, that's usually what the end user ends up buying. So trust us, we're here to help you.
So how have you guys fared? How has Crystal D, I should say, fared, through the whole COVID thing? How has it affected your, supply chain or your processes throughout this pandemic?
Well, it's actually been amazing. And I know there's so many other suppliers and distributors that have been, struggled through 2020. I'm really happy to report that we just didn't have that issue here at Crystal D. We had a great year last year. We were down just a little bit, which was amazing considering that our biggest month of shipping, April, we had to completely close our operation. Nobody could be in our building. We were on a full shelter in place order. So that was hard. We were scrambling, trying to get as much out as we could. And 2021 has actually been a record-breaking year for us. We know that this category is so important right now, and we are preaching it from the rooftops and just trying to help our customers, help their customers, combat that labor shortage, keep those teams connected when they're working from home. The awards are beautiful, but it's not just about the award, it's about the culture of the company, and awards and recognition programs really enhance the culture of a company, which, that's the backbone of every corporation. So you want to have that. But yeah, we're having an amazing year. And as far as the stock, not a problem here. We have 3 warehouses in the Twin Cities area. We have shipments coming in weekly. We're rocking and rolling. All of our memory makers have been back working full time since February. We're answering the phones. We're so excited to help people, and we're excited to have a solution for people because we are great on stock. We are offering our rush service. We still have our standard production time, everything. Life is beautiful here at Crystal D.
Memory makers. I love that term. And then the last question I have for you on the business side of things here is, awards and recognition are a very unique subcategory in the promo space. And if you and I dabbled in it a little bit over the years. Represented a company called Visions Awardcraft. You may not even know that. In fact, I started in my career. First job after college was as a mortgage rep, by the way. So you and I have
that's funny.
More than one thing in common, as it goes. But when you talk to distributors, if there was one thing you could explain to them, and I know there's several things, but if there's one thing you could explain to them about how they might have some success in the awards and recognition business if they've stayed away from that area previously, what would that advice be?
Let your customers know you sell it.
There you go.
It's such a reactive category for so many distributors. Like, they wait for that call and then they panic. So being proactive and showing, like, this is the thing, it's such a small portion of what makes up our huge industry, this little tiny slice of pie, but I'm going to tell you, there's only a few distributors and they're taking that business off the table for everybody else. So don't be afraid of it. Come to a good partner that can help you and ask for the business. Let your customers know that you sell it.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to move us along here. And unfortunately, I missed a perfect segue before when we were talking about labor shortages, because we're moving into our soapbox moment of the podcast here. And this week, it's my turn to go first. So I am on the heels of my first plane trip since February of 2020. I spent some time out evaluating the hospitality industry over the course of the past few days. And I will tell you this one thing that is consistent, from place to place, wherever you go. The labor shortages are the real deal. Everywhere you go, it is a struggle, from the airlines to the hospitals, to the hotels. I didn't go to the hospital, thankfully. The hotels to the restaurants. The labor shortage is real. I was a couple places. The restaurants were half shut down, or they weren't seating at half of their tables because they just don't have the staff to.
Not even outside.
I'm sorry.
Not even outside.
Not even outside. It wasn't about COVID. It was about staffing. So it was pretty crazy. So my soapbox moment is focused on that. And I'm just going to say this: please be patient. These people are trying their best. They're working hard. There aren't a lot of them. They're doing the best they can. So build in some extra time. Enjoy your time out. Build in a few extra minutes and just be patient with them. It's a struggle. Don't get all mad. I mean, it's just incredible how people are reacting to the situation in such a negative way and taking it out on people that really aren't the cause of this problem. So have some patience out there and support your local businesses and keep them going. That's it for me. Dan?
Yeah, of course, I mean, that's great advice. I always, every time we talk about things with regard to the pandemic, I'm always amazed with, if you asked me what the impact of the pandemic would be the week it started, March of 2020, you would never consider, oh, restaurants are going to be short of workers, in a year and a half, or any of these kind of things. There's so many of these oddities, or supply chains would be disrupted in different industries. I don't know. It's so hard. It was so hard to predict these things, but you're absolutely right. We all need to show patience and understanding in this situation.
I will say, though, I do want to add that I was a little disappointed that I didn't have to duct tape anybody to a seat on the flights either way. So, all right, Dan, it's all you, man.
Well, listen, I'm coming in late to the game today, as I was a little remiss in creating a soapbox moment, but one came to me just as we were sort of setting up, and it relates a little bit to travel as well, interestingly enough. So I planned a trip at the end of 2018 and throughout 2019. I planned a trip with my wife and our two neighbors. And of course, at the end of 2019, we had to cancel the thing because we were supposed to go to Scandinavia for 2 weeks. And that was canceled last July. Well, come about February, March, we all got vaccinated and we felt more comfortable, and we rescheduled. We rescheduled most of it, not all of it, because portions of it we weren't able to access anymore. But anyway, that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and I have mixed emotions about it, because it's like the first real trip that I'm taking, and it's a pleasure trip. It's not a business trip. But then I boiled down to my soapbox moment, which is, life is too short. I love traveling. I think everybody should travel the world and see the world and see different countries and experience different cultures and different things. And so, I'm plowing ahead, and we're going to do this thing, and we're going to have a great time doing it. We're going to be safe, and we're going to be as safe as we possibly can. But my soapbox moment is travel. Just go do it, take advantage of it, and make the time to travel. Any arguments with that?
Again, another thing that's hard to argue with. So yeah, I'll be following suit in another month. So I'm with you on that one.
There you go.
All right, Devin, you're up, and I am not looking forward to this one.
Well, like I said, if we were going to talk about pet peeves, we'd be here all day with me, because I have a laundry list, and I like to try to be likable if possible. But okay, well, I have a controversial statement, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. There's you guys know that I love music, and spanning across all different genres and years. I love everything, any kind of music. But I don't like the Beatles, and I don't like Rush. There.
He's leaving. That's
Sorry.
it.
I know. And it's not that they're not talented or groundbreaking bands. I don't know. Just not my thing. So like, I don't know. It's like the Cars for Kids commercial. Like I'll turn the radio channel.
Well, listen, Brett, you have to default back to your comment from our last podcast, which is, you can't look at this.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, technical difficulty.
It's the spirit of Neil Peart coming to get me.
It's the spirit of the radio. Anyway,
You can't argue with someone's taste, is what you admonished us with last time.
I did, but I wouldn't have been so forward as Devin is being right now. I mean, this is just a total slap in my face. I'm going to relay one story about Rush. I took the last time I saw Rush, I was able to take my son, who's now 20. He's a huge music lover himself. In fact, we went to a concert on Saturday night, and then I left without him, so he was very disappointed to go see more music. So I took him to see Rush. It was at Jones Beach, so it was while I was still living up in Jersey. So I'm guessing it was 2012 or so. A couple of years later, we were talking about music, and he said, he's probably been to 50 concerts with me in his short life. And he said, of all the concerts that I've been to with you, I don't think I ever saw you smile as much as you did during that Rush show. And so Rush was a huge part of my growing up. I had every cassette tape. Then I converted them all to CD. Now I probably should convert them back into LP because vinyl is big. But Rush is my jam. And maybe it's because I grew up playing drums and I was drawn to Neil Peart, who, the professor who unfortunately we lost. not too long ago. So that definitely, and at the time I was into classic rock, the more Zeppelin-y, Pink Floyd, that type of genre. So that real, the prog rock, if you will.
Right.
So to me, it just spoke to me, and I still am to this day a huge Rush fan. Beatles, my goodness. Do you like the Stones?
I do, and I'm gonna go see them in October.
See, so here's the thing. I feel the same way about the Stones as you do about the Beatles. I just
I know
don't get
that's
it.
the thing. You can't like both the Beatles and the Stones. It's just
Why?
it's
Why
one or
is
the
that?
other.
I love them both. What are you talking about?
Okay, well,
I love them both, and
Well,
I don't
you're
care,
outvoted here, Dan.
and I don't care for I don't care for Rush. I mean, look, there's two. Now, Tom Sawyer's a good song, couple of good songs,
That's
but
it. Yeah.
it's Geddy Lee has this like high pitched, piercing sort of voice that gets to you. If you have to like it, you have to buy into it, and so there's that.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna have to cut this off now because it's about to get nasty. So I'll leave it.
Before you do, Brett, tell me the next show you're gonna go see, because I'm just I'm like Dan with your travel bucket list.
Yeah.
My New Year's resolution a couple years ago was, I had tickets for a big outdoor festival and I didn't have anybody to go with, and the tickets sat there, and Aerosmith was going to be there and a couple other bands that I really wanted to see, and it was super, super hot here, and I couldn't find anybody to go to that concert with me. So then and there I was like, I'm never going to turn down concert tickets again.
Never.
I will go by myself if I need to. I'll go grab a neighbor, somebody. So that was this is my bucket list, and COVID interrupted it. So I have probably about $1,000 outstanding in concert tickets right now waiting to cash them in. So I always want to hear about who you're going to see next.
Yeah, sure. I see a lot of smaller local stuff. I get frustrated with stadium shows. I just think the sound is terrible. I think we've talked about that. So actually tonight I might be going to see a funk band in Charlotte. But my actual next ticketed event is going to see a band called String Cheese Incident. You ever hear of them? They're up in they're playing up in Asheville next weekend. So we're going up on a Saturday. And then after that, we're going, I think the next big event after that is our friend Danny Rosens, who's having a band together in Raleigh with a band called Krungbin, another interesting band. But I think that's the next larger scale event that I'll be going to. So I got a few things booked, but nothing major. And then there's a lot of stuff I want to go to, and I probably will make last minute decisions. There's Willie Nelson's coming through on a tour. I forget exactly what he's calling it. But he's got, on the same ticket, Sturgill Simpson and Government Mule, and it's just a really cool little tour. So a lot of stuff coming by, but I don't have a ton of tickets. I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. And I have a very full calendar. I use an app called Jambase. If you don't know it, I highly recommend you download it. It's called Jambase, and it's a whole live music calendar, and you could choose the shows you want to see, and it sets it up in a calendar, syncs it up with your calendar as well, which is really cool.
Nice.
So you always
That's
see it.
good.
I could talk about this all day. So with that in mind, we'll move on to our next our final segment here called our yes no question, aptly named the yes no question. So all right, this is a surprise to you, Devin. You do not know what the question was in advance, so we're going to just hit you with this right now, and it's a yes no. So that's your answer, and then if you want to talk about it more after your answer, feel free to do so. So let's talk about. So we've been talking about music. We're going to keep that on theme. Right. And here's the question to you. There's just as much good music being made today as any other time. No. How about, is there just as much good music being made today as any other time?
A quick no from the young lady. Please explain.
I have a 16-year-old, so I am very much up on the popular music nowadays, and it pretty much makes me cry. The only solace that I have is that I will check his iTunes list once in a while, and he does sprinkle in a few of his mom's favorites, and I will hear them once in a while. But yeah, I can't deal with this new music. It's just awful.
I think we have to make a distinction here, because I agree with you. The pop music is useless as far as that goes. But I believe there is more good music being made today than ever, because there's just more volume of it. There is more, there are more bands out there putting it out there. I think,
and more ways for them to market too.
More access.
Exactly.
Easy access.
When you go back to the 1960s, there was one radio station in your town. Okay. And it was AM, and everybody listened to the same music. And of course we all fell in love with, the Doors and Janis Joplin and the Stones and the Beatles and whatever. Then came FM radio, right? And so now you got 2 or 3 stations in town, but still the same kind of deal going on. Now it's just the Wild West. Everything's out there. Some of the best, most talented people are on our YouTube stars or whatever.
Right.
You just never know. I believe that there's even more than ever right
Mhm.
now.
I'll
Maybe not
continue.
on popular radio, but
I just want to add to that sentiment. I think I happen to agree with you, Dan. And I think, but the biggest challenge is finding it because there's so much, and as you and I know, we both use Spotify, and I listen to a lot of the things that they recommend, and I find a lot of new avenues just by going through the suggestions because they have these crazy algorithms that know exactly what I like.
Yeah.
It's and more often than not, they're perfect matches. So it helps kind of bridge that gap between what you're listening to now and what you're listening to in the future. But I think there's so much music and so much access that so much of it's great too.
You know what? You can make an analogy with television too, right? You say, is television better now? Well, yeah, we had MASH and All in the Family and these great shows from way back when. There's great television now, but I think it's hard to find that too, and to some extent, there's so much of it, right?
Right.
Every time you run into somebody, they're like, "Have you seen this program on Netflix?" Or you have to say, "Well, where's it streaming? Where is it?" You don't even know where it is. It's kind of analogous.
We're going to give Devin the final word on this. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. I guess maybe I'm just sentimental. I like that old music, and I could listen to new stuff, old stuff, but yeah, I think you're right. It's hard to find it. And I use iTunes, I use Apple, so they're just starting to do that where they have an algorithm that will introduce you to new music. And you're right, that's probably the way that I do find it. But I'm always the one like rocking out in the grocery store, going, "Man, I love this song," and then realizing that songs that were popular when I was in college are now grocery store music. Like, when did that happen? When did Nirvana end up on the classic rock station? Like, life's moving too fast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Devin, we appreciate you spending time with us today. I'd like to stay forever, but I have to go listen to the new Post Malone album. So I'm going to have to cut this off, but appreciate you being here. We love having Crystal D on the Soapbox. You guys are a fantastic founding supplier for us. Thank you for everything. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. It's always great to see you guys, and we're loving the format. Thank you.
Thanks.